So what really are the implications of what happened today? The Prime Minister said this is a historic day. Joining me for more on this is Swapan Dasgupta, Rajya Sabha MP of the BJP. Also, of course, Swapan Dasgupta, somebody who's closely followed the Ayodhya movement since the early 80s and has written about the rise of the political Hindu. Swapan Dasgupta, thanks very much for being on NDTV. Today, the Prime Minister said that crores would never have believed that they would see this moment in their lifetime. Your thoughts on this, and not just the foundation ceremony today or the groundbreaking ceremony, but the larger shift this represents socially and politically in India?
It was a momentous day, and I think the Prime Minister is absolutely right when he said there were large numbers of people who never imagined that in their lifetime they would see such a momentous development. Secondly, I think a lot of people, especially in the early 90s, believed that the culmination of this movement would be very violent, very cathartic. Today we saw a situation whereby an entire process, I mean, it's a huge, I mean, let's not underestimate the significance of the moment. The temple construction has been managed through peaceful constitutional means, and I think the significance of that is really quite profound, right, in every way. Of course, the other implications I think will be the subject of intense debate in the coming days as to what exactly it means for the future, you know, and I think people will have different views on that subject. But for the moment, I think these are the two immediate takeaways. I mean, we can come to the Prime Minister's speech, and he certainly indicated the manner in which he views this development, and that's very, very interesting.
No, and it is, and I think Swapan Dasgupta, what's also interesting is how every political party today has reacted, whether it's Rahul Gandhi, Mamata Banerjee, Akhilesh Yadav, Mayawati, earlier seen as secular parties. But today everyone has come out, in a sense, endorsing the Ram Mandir with their own definitions of what Lord Ram means. It's interesting because it's seen that perhaps across the political spectrum, except for the left who has said this is anti-constitutional, but the rest have all, in a sense, tried to claim Lord Ram as well, saying that, you know, he can't be seen as BJP property. The Prime Minister today said that Ram is everywhere, he is everyone's, and the political parties across the spectrum besides the left also seem to be saying that this can't be seen as the BJP's political property today, what happened.
Well, certainly Lord Ram cannot be seen as anyone's property, certainly not of the political party. But in this case, I mean, it's...
But perhaps part of a political agenda, let's put it that way. Perhaps part of a political agenda.
Political advantage is something that accrues over campaigns, etc. I don't think we can talk about it. But really, Ram is not a propriety, it's not the property of any political party. That's absolutely true. But I think let's look about it. I think it's heartening in one way that all the political parties, which are the non-BJP political parties, which devoted a considerable amount of their energies in the past towards not so much to opposing the temple, but to preventing a resolution of this issue, partly because they thought a resolution would be too awkward and that it was too contentious, that it's better to leave it somewhere dangling in midair, this issue. At least they've come around to talking about the finality of that dispute. So that's a positive sign.
So, in fact, the Prime Minister also struck a positive note in his speech. He made the point that, as you said, that Lord Ram belongs to everyone, not just in India, but also in our neighboring countries, part of the culture of our neighboring countries. He mentioned Indonesia, which is a Muslim majority country, but where Lord Ram is an integral part of the culture. Yet, that point I was making, that BJP MPs have come out with a very different take. You've had Tejasvi Surya tweeting that about only if Hindus are running this country could this happen. You've had another BJP MP, Shobha Karandalje, tweeting a picture of Prime Minister Modi leading Lord Ram to the Ayodhya temple. So in a sense, have minorities been airbrushed out of the political narrative of mainstream parties of India now?
No. I think that would be a very extreme interpretation of this thing. You know, the fundamental point, I think, which there were a lot of distortions in the nature of our secularism. some of those distortions had to be corrected. You know, the reason why when in the 1990s, L.K. Advani used to talk about pseudo-secularism, the reason why that term of Advaniji got so much currency was that a lot of people felt, yes, that must be true. Because what we've seen is it's very one-sided, it's very biased. You know, some of those correctives were necessary. If, however, to say that this is this is leading to a majoritarian government whereby only the sensitivities of the majority community will be considered and no one else's sensitivity, and therefore that they can trample upon anyone else's sensitivities with impunity. I don't think that that situation certainly is going to come about in India. I see it as a corrective, not as something which is triumphalist.
I think that's a very important point, not triumphalist. That's an important point. But Swapan Dasgupta, as we're talking about West Bengal, where you're very much involved in the political campaign. And we've seen how much of the rhetoric is often very divisive. I mean, it's about whether Eid is celebrated or Durga Puja is celebrated, and about the attacks on the chief minister there is about that how she favors one community over the other. Today as well, the BJP saying they were prevented, a lockdown was being done on a day when they should be holding Ram Pujas. So there may be the statesman-like speeches, and there may be, as you said, that this should be a day of sobriety, a day to bring India together. But on the ground, state after state, political campaigns become extremely communal and divisive. How do we actually prevent this? How do we make this a time of unification rather than exploiting this politically?
Well, in West Bengal, there is certainly a big grievance on the part of the Hindu community there, that their occasions are often, their sort of sentiments are often being disregarded, whereas the sentiments of the minorities are being accommodated at every point. And these grievances spill into the street. Today, for instance, there were about 40 to 50 incidents whereby police even went to small roadside temples and, prevented anyone from even offering arti. So, people, the overzealousness of the administration will certainly play a role in the coming election. But overall, I think two things are I would say it was very wrong and very irresponsible of the All India Muslim Personal Board to actually say that this we regard as a mosque, and a mosque we will recover it at all costs, and give the example of what happened in Turkey as an example. So that's, I believe, a provocation. And I hope that provocation was an error of judgment and they recognize it as such. But these are danger signs which I think we should look out for. And I hope it doesn't happen. But I would say that for the moment, that given the magnitude of the victory, the magnitude of the occasion, the enormous significance, I mean, a momentous development, I think India has reacted to it. India has digested it happily, but with a mood of utmost sobriety and restraint.
Swapan Dasgupta, I think that's a very important point, that India has reacted to its sobriety, and I think really the focus now is to stay united in our diversity as Indians on a day that the foundation stone, the groundbreaking ceremony of the Ram Mandir happened. Let's just